Every cell in my body wants me to dig into the stew and cram it, handful by handful, into my mouth, but Peta's voice stops me. We better take it slow on that stew. Remember the first night on the train? The rich food made me sick, and I wasn't even starving then. You're right, and I could just inhale the whole thing, I say regretfully, but I don't. We are quite sensible. We each have a roll, half an apple, and an egg-sized serving of stew and rice. I make myself eat the stew in tiny spoonfuls. They even sent us silverware and plates. Savoring each bite, when we finish, I stare longingly at the dish. I want more. Me too. Tell you what, we wait an hour. If it stays down, then we get another serving, Peta says. Agreed, I say. It's going to be a long hour. Maybe not that long, says Peta. What was that you were just saying before the food arrived? Something about me? No competition? Best thing that ever happened to you? I don't remember that last part, I say, hoping it's too dim in here for cameras to pick up my blush. Oh, that's right. That's what I was thinking, he says. Scoot over. I'm freezing. I make room for him in the sleeping bag. We lean back against the cave wall, my head on his shoulders, his arms wrapped around me. I can feel Hamish nudging me to keep up the act. So since we were 5, you never even noticed any other girls? I ask him. No, I noticed just about every girl, but none of them made a lasting impression, but you, he says. I'm sure that would thrill your parents, you liking a girl from the seam, I say. Hardly, but I couldn't care less. Anyway, if we make it back, you won't be a girl from the seam. You'll be a girl from the victor's village, he says. That's right. If we win, we'll each get a house in the part of town reserved for Hunger Games victors. Long ago, when the games began, the capital had built a dozen fine houses in each district. Of course, in ours, only one is occupied. Most of the others have never been lived in at all. A disturbing thought hits me. But then, our only neighbor will be Hamish. Ah, that'll be nice, says Peta, tightening his arms around me. You and me and Hamish. Very cozy. Picnics, birthdays, long winter nights around the fire, retelling old Hunger Games tales. I told you he hates me, I say, but I can't help laughing at the image of Hamish becoming my new pal. Only sometimes. When he's sober, I've never heard him say one negative thing about you, says Peta. He's never sober, I protest. That's right, who am I thinking of? Oh, I know, it's Cinna who likes you. But that's mainly because you didn't try to run when he set you on fire, says Peta. On the other hand, Hamish, well, if I were you, I'd avoid Hamish completely. He hates you. I thought you said I was his favorite, I say. He hates me more, says Peta. I don't think people in general are his sort of thing. I know the audience will enjoy our having fun at Hamish's expense. He's been around so long he's practically an old friend of some of them. And after his head dive off the stage at the reaping, everybody knows him. By this time, they'll have dragged him out of the control room for interviews about us. No telling what sort of lies he's made up. He's at something of a disadvantage because most mentors have a partner, another victor to help them, whereas Hamish has to be ready to go into action at any moment. Kind of like me when I was alone in the arena. I wonder how he's holding up, with the drinking, the attention, and the stress of trying to keep us alive. It's funny, Hamish and I didn't get along well in person, but maybe Peta is right about us being alike because he seems to be able to communicate with me by the timing of his gifts. Like how I knew I must be close to water when he withheld it, and how I knew the sleep syrup just wasn't something to ease Peta's pain, and how I know now that I have to play up the romance. He hasn't made much effort to connect with Peta, really. Perhaps he thinks a bowl of broth would just be a bowl of broth to Peta, whereas I'll see the strings attached to it. A thought hits me, and I'm amazed the question's taken so long to surface. Maybe it's because I've only recently begun to view Hamish with a degree of curiosity. How do you think he did it? Who? Did what? Peta asks. Hamish, how do you think he won the games? I say. Peta considers this quite a while before he answers. Hamish is sturdily built, but no physical wonder like Cato or Thresh. He's not particularly handsome, not in the way that causes sponsors to rain gifts for you. And he's so surly it's hard to imagine anyone teaming up with him. There's only one way Haymitch could have won, and Peeta says it just as I'm reaching this conclusion myself. He outsmarted the others, says Peeta. I nod, then let the conversation drop, but secretly I'm wondering if Haymitch sobered up long enough to help Peeta and me because he thought we just might have the wits to survive. Maybe he wasn't always a drunk. Maybe in the beginning he tried to help the tributes. But then it got unbearable. It must be hell to mentor 2 kids and then watch them die, year after year after year. I realize that if I get out of here, that will become my job, to mentor the girl from District 12. The idea is so repellent, I thrust it from my mind. About half-hour has passed before I decide to eat again. Peeta's too hungry himself to put up any argument. While I'm dishing up 2 more small servings of lamb stew and rice, we hear the anthem begin to play. Peeta presses his eyes against a crack in the rocks to watch the sky. There won't be anything to see tonight, I say, far more interested in the stew than the sky. Nothing's happened, or we would have heard a cannon. Katniss, Peeta says quietly. What? Should we split another roll, too? Katniss, he repeats, but I find myself wanting to ignore him. I'm going to split one, but I'll save the cheese for tomorrow, I say, and I see Peeta staring at me. What? Thresh is dead, says Peeta. He can't be, I say. They must have fired the cannon during the thunder, and we missed it, says Peeta. Are you sure? I mean, it's pouring buckets out there. I don't know how you can see anything, I say. I push him away from the rocks and squint out into the dark, rainy sky. For about 10 seconds, I catch a distorted glimpse of Thresh's picture, and then he's gone, just like that. I slump down against the rocks, momentarily forgetting about the task at hand. Thresh dead. I should be happy, right? One less tribute to face, and a powerful one, too. But I'm not happy. All I can think about is Thresh letting me go, letting me run because of Rue, who died with that spear in her stomach. You all right? Asks Peeta. I give a non-committal shrug and cut my elbows in my hands, hugging them close to my body. I have to bury the real pain because who's going to bet on a tribute who keeps sniveling over the death of her opponents? Rue was one thing. We were allies. She was so young. But no one will understand my sorrow at Thresh's murder. The word pulls me up short. Murder. Thankfully, I didn't say it aloud. That's not going to win me any points in the arena. What I do say is, it's just, if we didn't win, I wanted Thresh to, because he let me go, and because of Rue. Yeah, I know, says Peeta, but this means we're one step closer to District 12. He nudges a plate of food into my hands. Eat, it's still warm. I take a bite of the stew to show I don't really care, but it's like glue in my mouth, and it takes a lot of effort to swallow. It also means Cato will be back hunting us. And he's got supplies again, says Peeta. He'll be wounded, I bet, I say. What makes you say that? Asks Peeta. Because Thresh would have never gone down without a fight. He's so strong. I mean, he was. And they were in his territory, I say. Good, says Peeta. The more wounded Cato is, the better. I wonder how Foxface is making out. Oh, she's fine, I say peevishly. I'm still angry she thought of hiding in the cornucopia and I didn't. Probably be easier to catch Cato than her. Maybe they'll catch each other and we can just go home, says Peeta. But we better be extra careful about the watches. I dozed off a few times. Me too, I admit, but not tonight.